Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our topic for today is writing an essay on online learning, part 2. This question is taken from your MPP2, part 2, obviously. These are our lesson objective for today. You'll be able to write an essay by following the task requirement given, and you'll be able to write the essay using the correct tone or language in a coherent way. This is the questions. Your class has been discussing online classes during COVID-19 pandemic, and your teacher has asked you to write an essay about your experience on online learning. In your essay, you should write about the disadvantages of online learning, and whether you prefer online learning or classroom learning. And you have to write your answer in 125 to 150 words in an appropriate style. Tip number 1. To answer the question, you have to first identify the general ideas. The one in bold is the general ideas. So here, your class has been discussing about online classes during COVID-19 pandemic, and your teacher has asked you to write an essay about your experience on online learning. So these are the general ideas for the questions. Next, tip number 2, identify the tasks. Okay, you have to make sure that you identify the task. You can do so by either highlighting the task or underlining the task. It depends. The good thing about this question is that it's pretty obvious which ones are the tasks because they are in bullet point. The one in red, these are the tasks. So you have three tasks here. The first one is the advantages of online learning, which is task 1. The disadvantages of online learning, which is task 2. And task 3, whether you prefer online learning or classroom learning. So for task 3, you have to state your preference, whether you prefer online learning or classroom learning. If you are not able to accomplish all of these three tasks, this will affect your mark for content. So make sure that you've understood the task and try to answer all of them. Task 1, the advantages of online learning. So here I have the two main ideas and I've also prepared the elaboration. Okay, the first advantages of online learning is that it is more convenient. By more convenient, it means it's easier for you. Okay, you can now study from the comfort of their own home. Students can study from the comfort of their own home. Students can also learn at their own pace because the timetable is more flexible and teachers are not present to monitor them. And then the second advantage is it is a more sophisticated way of learning. Sophisticated means that it is a more advanced way of learning. Or in Bahasa Melayu, canggih. Sophisticated means canggih. Teachers can make use of the advanced technology to make their lessons more interesting. Like today, for this presentation, I'm using YouTube and also Canva. So this how technology um, enhance my lesson because I can make use of all of this interesting technology. And then next, students can learn in a more interactive way using technology. Okay, and then for task 2, which is the disadvantages of online learning. Okay, there are two here, two advantages. The first one is some students can afford it. Students who come from poor family background can afford the gadgets and the mobile data. And then the second disadvantages is no face-to-face interaction. Without the presence of a teacher, students might find it difficult to understand the lesson well, and lack of communication with classmates makes learning boring and dull. Okay, as we all know, um, online learning means that you are alone in your room, right? You don't have your friends next to you, and there is less face-to-face interaction. So some students they prefer the ability to communicate and interact with their friends face to face because it makes learning more fun and interesting. Okay, bear in mind that you don't have to add way too many advantages or disadvantages, because you're supposed to write the essay in the minimum is only 150 words. So I think two advantages and two disadvantages are enough. Okay, don't stress yourself, by providing too many points on advantages and disadvantages, because it's only a 150 words essay. Okay, and then your last task is task 3. You have to state your preference, whether you prefer online learning or classroom learning. So these are some of the useful expressions to express your opinion. You can use in my opinion, in my eyes. For example, in my opinion, I prefer online learning. Or you can use to my mind, as far as I'm concerned. Example of how to use it, as far as I'm concerned, classroom learning is the best way of learning for me. Okay, and you can use from my point of view, my opinion, belief, impression, conviction is that I would say that my impression is that I have the feeling that I have no doubt that. Okay, these are some of the ways to construct sentences using the phrases in order to state your preference. Okay, you can say it like this. I would say that I prefer online learning. Another way is, in my opinion, I prefer classroom learning. Or you can also use this phrase, I have no doubt that classroom learning is better because uh, I prefer interaction with my friends. Okay, for example. Okay, and then tip number 3, use suitable and appropriate tone, language, and convention of writing. What does it mean? Okay, let's find out. Okay, suitable tone or language. You have to use formal language. You have to avoid contraction. Contraction means singkatan. For example, you cannot use can. You should use cannot. Make sure that the spelling is not contracted. Okay, it has to be full spelling. Okay, and then avoid using phrasal verb. For example, instead of using come across, you have to use encounter, because phrasal verb actually makes a conversation to sound less formal. And then next, you have to use present tense, okay, because we are talking about something factual. So for factual essay, um, you have to use present tense. And then tip number 4, use linkers to make your essay more coherent. Okay, these are some examples of the linkers that you can use. Okay, you can use, first of all, to begin with, to start with the advantage of online learning, to start a new idea, and then to add more idea, you can use another advantage or disadvantage, and then you can also use furthermore, moreover, in addition. Okay, all of these linkers are used when you want to start a new idea or to add uh, an additional idea. And then if you have uh, contrasting idea or opposing ideas, you can use linkers like however, on the other hand, in contrast, because here we are comparing between maybe there are times when you feel like you want to compare online learning and also classroom learning, so you can use all of this linkers. And then you can also use lastly, finally, okay, to state your last idea. And then to make conclusion, you can use all in all, sum up, in short, on the whole. Okay, that's it for linkers. And this is a sample essay. Last but not least, this is the sample essay. Okay, online learning has become the buzzword since the pandemic started. Online learning has its own pros and cons, especially to students. Okay, so this is the introduction. I used the word buzzword, okay, to replace popular, because just for the sake of introducing you to the new way of describing something as being popular. Okay, you can also use has become the buzzword. Pros and cons has the same meaning with the phrases advantages and disadvantages. Okay, now moving on to the next paragraph, which is our main point. Okay, task 1. To begin with, the advantage of online learning is that it is more convenient. Students can study from the comfort of their own home without the need to get themselves prepared to go to school. Students can also learn at their own pace due to due to the flexible timetable. Besides, online learning is also a more sophisticated way to teaching and learning. For instance, teachers can make use of the advanced technology to make the lessons more interesting. So the second paragraph uh, is actually task 2, where we talk about the advantages. And notice how I use some of the linkers, like to begin with, besides, and also for instance, just to link my ideas together. And then for paragraph 3, we have uh, task 2, which talks about the disadvantages of online learning. Okay, so I start with, on the other hand, online learning has its own disadvantages. First, some students who come from poor family background can afford the gadget, tidak mampu memiliki gadget and mobile data. Furthermore, there is no face-to-face interaction due to the virtual setting. Without the presence of a teacher, students might find it difficult to understand the lesson well. Lack of communication with classmates makes the learning dull. Okay, dull means less interesting or boring. Okay, uh, and then the last paragraph. Okay, this is where you can sum up everything, and also state your preference, which is our task 3. To sum up, online learning has its own advantages and disadvantages. I have no doubt that I prefer online learning because it is a new way of learning that we need to embrace. So, yep, that's it for the essay on online learning. Okay, so yep, that's all. I guess. I hope you learned something. Bye bye. Assalamualaikum.